Hello, and welcome to Bible Time.
Bible Time!
Stop. Then Zophar, the Naamathite, replied, "My troubled thoughts prompt me to answer, because I am greatly disturbed. I hear a rebuke that dishonors me, and my understanding inspires me to reply, 'Surely you do know how it has been from the old. Ever since mankind was placed on the earth, that the mirth of the wicked is brief, that the joy of the godless wow. That the mirth of the wicked is brief, that the joy of the godless lasts but a moment. Though the pride of the godless person reaches to heaven, and his head touches the clouds, he will perish forever like his own dung. Those who have seen him will say, where is he? Like a dream, he flies away, no more to be found, banished like a vision of the night. The eye that saw him will not see him again. His place will look for him no more. His children must make amends to the poor. His own hands must give back his wealth. His joyful vigor that fills his bones will lie with him in the dust. Though evil is sweet in his mouth, and he hides it under his tongue, though he cannot bear to let it go, and lets it linger in his mouth. Yet his food will sour in his stomach, it will become the venom of serpents within him. He will spit out the riches he swallowed. God will make his stomach vomit them up. He will suck out the poison of serpents. The fangs of an adder will kill him. He will not enjoy the streams, the rivers flowing with honey and cream. That he toiled, for he must give back uneaten. He will not enjoy the profit of his trading, for he will be oppressed, the poor and the left. For he has oppressed the poor and left them desolate. He has seized houses he did not build. Surely he will have no respite from his craving. He cannot save himself by his treasure. Nothing is left for him to devour. His prosperity will not endure. In the midst of his plenty, distress will overtake him. The full force of his misery will come upon him. When he is filled his belly, God will vent his burning anger upon him, and rained down his blows upon him. Through the fleas of an iron weapon, a bronze-tipped arrow pierces him. He pulls it out of his back, the gleaming points of his liver. Terrors will come over him. Total darkness lies in wait for his treasures. A fire unfanned will consume him and devour what is left of his tent. The heavens will expose his guilt. The earth will rise up against him. A flood will carry off his house. Rushing waters on the day of God's wrath. Such in the fate God's allot the wicked for the heritage appointed for them by God. Then Job replied, listen carefully to my words. Let this be the consolation that you gave me. So bear with me while I speak. And after I have spoken, mock on. This is my complaint directed to a human being. Why should I not be impatient? Look at me. Look at me and be appalled. Clap your hands over your mouth. When I think about this, I'm terrified, trembling, seizing my body. Why do the wicked live on, growing old and increasing in power? They see their children established around them, their offspring before their eyes. Their homes are safe and free from fear. The rod of God is not on them. Their bulls never fail to breed. Their cows and calves, they do not have a miscarry. They send forth their children as a flock. Their little ones, they go and they dance around. They sing to the music of trembled and why, and they make merry to the sound of the pipe. And the spend their years in prosperity, and they go down in the grave in peace. Yet they say to God, leave us alone. We have no desire for knowing your ways. Who is the Almighty that we should serve him? What should we gain by praying to him? But their prosperity is not in their own hands. So I stand aloof from the plans of the wicked. Yet how often is the lamp of the wicked snuffed out? How often does the calamity come upon them? The fate of God allots in his anger. How often are they like straw before the wind, like chaff swept away by a gale? It is said, God stores up in punishment of the wicked for their children. Let him repay the wicked so that they themselves will experience it. Let their eyes see their destruction. Let them drink the cup of wrath of the Almighty. For what do they care about the families that they leave behind? When their allotted months come to an end, can anyone teach knowledge to God, since he judges even the highest? One person dies in full vigor, completely secure and at ease, well-nourished in body, bones rich with marrow. Another dies in bitterness of soul, never having enjoyed anything good. Side by side, they lie in the dust, The worms cover them both. I know full well what you are thinking, the schemes by which you would have wronged me. You say, where now is the house of the great, the tents where the wicked lived? How you never questioned those who traveled? Have you paid no regard to their accounts, that the wicked are spared in the day of calamity, that they are delivered from the day of wrath? Who denounces their comfort to their face? Who repays them for what they have done? They are carried out to the grave, and watch is kept over them and their tombs. The soil of the valley is sweet to them. Everyone follows after them, and the countless throng goes before them. So how now can you console me with your nonsense? Nothing is left out of your answers but falsehood. Then Eliphaz the Temanite replied, can a man be of benefit to God? Can even a wise person benefit him? The pleasure would give the Almighty if you were righteous. What would he gain if your ways were blameless? For it is your piety that he rebukes you and brings charges against you. It's not your wickedness great? Are not your sins endless? You demanded security from your relatives for no reason. You stripped people of their clothing, leaving them naked. You gave no water to the weary, and you withheld food from the hungry. Though you were a powerful man, owning land, and an honored man living on it, and you sent widows away empty-handed, and you broke the strength of the fatherless. That is why snares are all around you, why sudden peril terrifies you, why is it so dark you cannot see, and why a flood of water covers you. Is not God the heights of heaven, and see now how lofty are the highest stars. Yet you say, what does God know? Does he judge through such darkness? Do clouds veil him so he does not see us? And he goes about in the vaulted heavens? Will you keep to the old path the wicked have trod? They were carried off before their time, and their foundations washed away by a flood. They said to God, leave us alone, and can the Almighty do to us? Yet he was filled their houses with good things. So I stand aloof from the plans of the wicked. The righteous see their ruin and rejoice. The innocent mock them, saying, surely our foes are destroyed, and fire devours their wealth. So submit to God and be at peace with him. In this way, prosperity will come to you. Accept instruction from his mouth and lay up his words in your heart, and return to the Almighty. You will be restored. If you remove wickedness far from your tent and assign your nuggets to the dust, your gold of Ophir to the rocks and ravens, then the Almighty will be your gold, your choicest silver for you. Surely, then you will find delight in the Almighty. You will lift up your face to God. You will pray to him, and he will hear you. You will will fulfill your vows. What you decide on will be done, and light will shine on your ways. When people are brought low, and you say, lift them up, then he will save the downcast. He will deliver even one who is not innocent, who will be delivered through the cleanliness of your hands. Then Job replied, even today my complaint is bitter. His hand is heavy in spite of my groaning. If only I knew where to find him. If only I could go to his dwelling. I would state my case before him. I would fill my mouth with arguments. I would find out what he would answer me and would consider what he would say to me. Would he vigorously oppose me? No. He would not press charges against me. There, the upright can establish their innocence before him. And there, I would be delivered forever from my judge. But if I go to the east, and he's not there, if I go to the west, I don't find him. When he is at work in the north, I don't see him. When he turns to the south, I can't catch a glimpse of him. But he knows the way that I take. And he's tested me. And I will come forth as gold. My feet have closely followed his steps. I am given to the way without turning aside. I have not departed from the commands of his lips. I have treasured the words of his mouth more than my daily bread. But he stands alone. And who can oppose him? He does whatever he pleases. He carries out his decree against me, and many such plans he still has in store. That is why I am terrified before him. Then, when I think of all of this, I fear him. God has made my heart faint. The Almighty has terrified me. Yet, I am not silenced by the darkness, by the thick darkness that covers my face. Why does the Almighty not set times for judgment? Why must those who know him look in vain for such days? There are those who move boundary stones. They pasture flocks that have been stolen. They drive away the orphan's donkey and take the widow's ox and pledge. They thrust the needy from the path and they force the poor of the land into hiding. Like wild donkeys in the desert, the poor go out and about their labor for foraging food. The wasteland provides food for their children. They gather fodder in the fields. They glean in the vineyards of the wicked. Lacking clothes, they spend the nights naked. They have nothing to cover themselves from the cold. They are drenched by mountains' rains. They hug the rocks for lack of shelter. The fatherless child is snatched from the breast The infant of the poor is seized for a debt. Lacking clothes, they go around naked. They carry the sheaths, but still go hungry. They crush olives among the terraces. They tread on the wine presses, yet suffer thirst. The groans of the dying rise up from the city, and the souls of the wounded cry out for help. But God charges no one with wrongdoing. There are those who rebel against the light, those who do not know its ways and stay in its path. When daylight is done, the murderer rises up, kills the poor and the needy, and in the night steals forth like a thief. The eye of the adulterer watches for dusk. He thinks no eyes will see me, and he keeps his face concealed. In the dark, thieves break into houses, but by day they shut themselves in, and they want nothing to do with the light. For all of them, midnight is their morning. They make friends with the terrors of the darkness, yet they are foam on the surface of the water. Their portion of the land is cursed, so no one goes to the vineyard, as heat and drought snatch away the melted snow, so the grave snatches away those who have sinned. The womb forgets them, the worm feasts on them. The wicked are no longer remembered, but they're broken like a tree, and prey on the barren of the childless woman, so that the widow they show no kindness. And God drags away the mighty by his power. Though they become established, they have no assurance of life. He may let them rest in a feeling of security, but his eyes are on their ways. For a little while, they are exalted. And when they are gone, they are brought low and gathered up like all the others. And they're cut off like heads of grain. If this is not so, who can prove me false? Who can reduce these words into nothing? Then Bildad, the Shihite, replied, dominion and awe belong to God. He established order of the heights of heaven. Can his forces be numbered? On whom does his light not rise? How then can a mortal be righteous before God? How can one born of woman be pure if even the moon is not bright and the stars are not pure in his eyes? How much less a mortal who is but a maggot? A human being was merely a worm. So everybody's kind of throwing some harsh words around, and Job's bringing up some awfully good points, and his friends are very much concerned with preserving the goodliness of God. So stay tuned to find out how the story ends. I'll see you next time. on Bible time. Oh, was the candle not lit the whole time?